by film.
5,
Stand by music.
4,
Stand by announce.
3, 2, 1.
And fade up.
It's the Bellagio, the Mirage, and the MGM Grand.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Mike Wazowski.
Open your eyes.
Now tell me, where are the others?
Eat me!
King Kong ain't got on me!
What about second breakfast?
Why not? Why can't I?
How can we be expected to teach children to learn how to read if they can't even fit inside the building?
Second time's the charm, right?
Exactly.
There we go. So welcome, everyone, to another episode of 20 Years, 4 Beers, a podcast dedicated to rewatching popular movies from 2 decades ago, while also enjoying a minimum of 4 modern beers. My name is Steve, and this is my big brother,
Tim.
And we are coming to you live on tape from Minneapolis, Minnesota. These are my notes. So...
These are my notes.
These aren't my notes.
These are my notes.
I'm gonna go back to my notes. Where
Oh, God. So we watched a movie, and it was 20 years ago.
Oh, my God. These are my notes.
I can turn the lights up.
No, it's totally fine. But I thought, that's so weird. All right. Anyway.
I was going to start talking.
Yeah, exactly. So... I would say, and this is where I got hung up, is because it says we have just finished recording Amelie.
Sure.
But those who know that it's actually not the case.
Yep.
So we have not just finished recording Amelie. We are sitting down about a week and a half later because of audio issues.
This is not going to air. This will never be seen by anybody. This will never be seen by anybody.
And re-recording this episode. And we are going to discuss 2001's Best Picture nominated drama, In the Bedroom.
You see what happened to this poor fellow?
What?
Oh, look, he lost an arm. See, the trap has nylon nets called heads. 2 side heads to let the lobster crawl in. And inside, they call a bedroom head to hold the bait and keeps him from escaping. You know the old saying, two's company, three's a crowd? You know, it's like that. You, get more than 2 of these in the bedroom, and chances are something like that's going to happen.
We lovingly call these episodes our happy hour.
Hey, you guys. Happy hour is from 4 to 6.
Since we have had a few beers prior and have just come off the high of recording an episode, that's the typical. The huge. I mean, I've had a couple today, so that's all right.
Exactly. Me too.
I mean, it's not right now, but that's fine.
It's close enough.
So yeah, I would say the happy hour shows are obviously and clearly tonight more freeform, and we just sort of traditionally watch the movies separately. And yet this time, it's like the third time's the charm to do In the Bedroom, because we actually finally, we watched the movie together.
Like 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Then we come together to record it, and now we're coming together a third time.
To re-record.
Just to talk about a movie that I've been so... like begging people to watch for 20 years.
Although for what it's worth, I'm really excited for this, largely because 1, the audio is better, and 2,
hopefully,
quite often our happy hours are one where we've had quite a good time, and I like to listen to them after the fact because I typically don't remember recording them. So this is actually kind of nice. Where I don't remember what we talked about much last week. So
yeah, and it'll be fun. And I think along the way, I'll probably splice some things from that episode in along the way, just to sort of see if people will be able to tell, because the audio will be bad. But if I find a gem or two, I might throw it in.
Oh my God! The parents were fornicating, killing deer, and jamming out to tunes. Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy we're actually maybe talking about it separate from
I agree.
that group.
They were jacked to the tits.
They were terrible.
It was.
The worst.
It was a tough crowd, but it's hard to talk about a movie like this at 12:30 in the morning after a few drinks where they haven't seen it. So.
And they're all tired. Yeah.
Yes.
Surprised you guys aren't asleep. Wait. Where's Ellen? Sorry, yeah.
So, In the Bedroom is a film that centers on the Fowler family, Matt, Ruth, and their college-aged son, Frank. Frank gets involved in a romantic relationship with Natalie, a newly divorced mother of 2 sons, much to the frustration and concern of the Fowler parents. Natalie's ex-husband, Richard, is not exactly pleased either, and during a drunken fight, Richard shoots and murders Frank. The Fowlers must cope in any way they can, which finally manifests into revenge after the legal system seems to be avoiding any sense of justice for their son. The film is directed by Todd Field, written by Field and Robert Festinger, and stars Tom Wilkinson as Matt, Sissy Spacek as Ruth, Nick Stahl as Frank, Marissa Tomei as Natalie, and William Maypother as Richard. So, we have no initial memories, because you didn't watch it the first time, so I don't need to go into mine, because we'll just talk about it later. But normally, Drinking Buddies is ours.
Well, the funny thing about our memories maybe is that we had talked after Spy Game that when we were thinking about having this be part of our happy hour cycle, it was kind of like, really? Do I really want? Like, I've never seen this. And I remember at the time when it came out 20 years ago, seeing the preview and thinking, yeah, that's a hard pass. But what was funny about us coming together to actually watch it together for the rare experience with happy hour, usually we watch it separate, we come together. It was, 2 Saturdays ago, and I told my wife, I came out after getting the kids down, and I'm like, hey, you want to hang out? She's like, yeah, I guess we can watch something. I don't know. And she's watching Younger, I think is her show of the moment. And I explained, well, I can maybe watch in the bedroom. Do you want to watch it? And I gave her a brief synopsis, and halfway through, she just started shaking her head. Nope, hard pass. I'm good. So I came down here to the basement, started the movie, texted you because, we've experienced that 20 years later, some of these movies are harder to find on digital than we experienced. And I was like, oh, you can go here or whatever. And you're like, wait, are you watching right now? I said, yeah, I'm going to watch right now. And you're like, and you called me.
I'm an hour in.
You
called it.
wait,
I'm an hour in, and I think I'm going to come over.
I'm coming over. Okay.
I'm coming over.
Yeah.
Stop right there. I'm in.
And then I was like, he's coming over? Yeah. So we were able to watch it together. But yeah, it was a funny thing of the same thing 20 years ago, had zero interest.
Yeah. I definitely watched it with the Oscars and stuff, but I loved it. I mean, I've talked about it for years, and I bought it on DVD at one point of all movies to just have on. Oh, yeah, it's at my house right now. But yeah, I love it, and I'm glad we got a chance to watch it.
Because it's the first one that we've gone through so far of these movies that we were rewatching where I hadn't seen it the first time. So this is my first experience watching it. No, A Knight's Tale.
No, you had A Knight's Tale.
But I knew that.
Right.
Glimpses of it are like kind of pop culture. This was truly the only one I had the high level of.
Yeah, there was nothing.
And that was a fresh take on it.
So again, normally our Drinking Buddies are separate, but I guess this is our Drinking Buddies segment.
Yeah.
Come on, not my fucking beer.
And where we, talk about our beers that we had. And so this time around, I was drinking one when I left. No, I didn't drink it on the road, just so we're clear.
Yes.
I didn't take a roadie.
Yeah, just to know.
I didn't take a roadie. I was drinking the Sticky Puddles Sour from Lupulin Brewing in Big Lake, Minnesota, which I had a 4.5 out of 5. And I think we ended up, did we drink that?
We did.
With Amelie too?
Yes.
But was it a part of it, or did you just like...
I think Kara brought it.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's been a common theme in the last few times.
But you had brought that separate at a different time, and that's...
Yeah, well, we had it on the podcast before.
Yeah, it's really good.
And then I brought the Rad Wolf shirt from Falling Knife, which was a triple IPA.
Yeah.
And I had a 4.25 to 4.5 on that one. Like, I was kind of in that 4.25 range.
I think mine was like a 4.75.
Oh, really?
If I remember it. Because it was just, for a triple IPA like that, you find so many of them to be...
find out. I'll look it up.
Punch you in the face, like, wow, this is really formidable.
Yep.
That was so smooth.
It was smooth. It was really good.
And I expected a darker beer. I had no idea when you brought it over. Like, we opened it and poured it. I was like, oh, let's see what it is. But yeah, I loved it. It was fantastic. A standout option from Falling
You did
Knife.
do a 4.75.
See?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we had others. I'm sure you have written down.
Well, I had the Ursa Minor from Duluth, their Cadillac Ranch the Cadillac Ranch Hand Hazy IPA, which I gave a 3.75. It was a solid IPA, really tasty, but hazy, yeah, not at all. It was very clear, and I don't know why they even, probably the craze of hazies all out there. But yeah, it was definitely not that, but it was good. It was tasty. It was a solid IPA. And then had Wild Mind Ales from Minneapolis, just down the street. Their Golf Cart Juice Box Pale Sour Ale. There's a lot of words there. It's with lemon puree, English tea, and milk sugar. Oh, that's right. Essentially, it's kind of like their Arnie Palmer take of a sour pale ale, but they had that one infused with peach.
Oh, that's right.
And that one's, I think it was a 4.25. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. That peach ups it a bit. So yeah, it was a good night for enjoying those beers.
I did not have a social network, but
do.
I know you do. So we are going to have a social network segment here where we is a loose term, but
the royal
one of us usually reaches back and looks back at reviews of the time. And of course, this was well received, which you'll get into. So what do you got for social network?
If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
For the IMDb rating was 7.4 out of 10, which is pretty solid. Kind of good rating. Lisa Schwartzbaum of Entertainment Weekly. Remember we read those all the time.
I had a subscription.
Our
that was the first magazine, probably the last magazine I ever had.
Imagine, yeah.
Subscription to.
You were the last one.
Years.
Like, Steve, can you maybe keep us afloat? Anyway, she wrote, the uncoagulated anguish of parents mourning the death of a child has rarely been more powerfully depicted than in the collected vignettes of grief, rage, and retribution that make up this riveting domestic drama. And of course, Big Man Roger.
Yeah,
4 out of 4 said there are scenes as true as movies can make them, and even when the story develops thriller elements, they are redeemed because the movie is not about what happens, but about why. And as you mentioned, Academy Awards, that year was 5 nominations for Best Actress for Sissy Spacek, Best Actor for Wilkinson, Best Supporting Actress for Marissa Tomei, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Picture that year. So was very well received by critics, and overall, really great ratings.
And won none of those.
It was the rare shutout that year.
It was the only Best Picture nominee that year. Didn't win anything.
Exactly. So that was the social network.
Thank you.
Yes.
So what do we have? And we're also drinking a beer tonight.
And then you brought over from
a new brewery for us in the area. Not new, but new for the podcast.
Yes. Boom Island Brewing Company out of Minnetonka. There is over there.
Yeah.
Their Tropical Layover, a sour ale with pineapple and guava. Which is funny. You gave it to me, and you could just say the first sip, and it's like, yep, there's guava in here. But I gotta say, it's a rare treat from Boom Island. They've come a long way. They started very niche in their kind of styles.
All Belgians, yeah.
Yes, and they've kind of, I think, decided we should maybe do more than that. A new location out of Minneapolis, moving to Minnetonka. Anyway, it's very good. Yeah, I think I gave it a...
I have a 4.25.
Yeah, it's like a 3.754 or something when I tapped in. Yeah,
I think
it's very good.
This is an example I always tell people, sometimes if you go to a brewery that you didn't like before and you have one that's good, it bumps the rating. If I normally only have 3.5s or 3s, and you're suddenly like, wait a second here. Whereas if you had it anywhere else, it might be like a normal 4B or whatever, but you're suddenly, oh wait, this is pretty good.
Yes.
So really nice people there. I've met their owners over the years and stuff like that. I just have never been.
For you.
The thing is, though, I do think they're an example of, I think they make good beer.
Yeah.
Just they don't make styles that I particularly like.
True.
Like some of the other places in town. So
I'd say that.
Like Uda Pills and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess that
it's tasty.
It is really good. So that will lead us into our sort of high fidelity
top 5 side ones, track ones,
where we kind of talk about our top 5, or this is a little more just a free flow. What were your first sort of thoughts? I had watched this multiple times. You are now the only person I know in my life who's seen this movie, and so I was very curious to talk about it. And since neither of us really remember the reaction segment, I'm now very curious to, how was it?
Well, it was such a funny thing. We saw it, and it was my first experience seeing it. We finished it, and it was like, don't talk about it, because we want to have the pod together.
Right, yeah.
And so it's kind of like, okay, well, let's talk about other stuff. But with a movie,
and then once again, we talked about it, and now we're talking about it again.
Yeah. I wrote down after processing it was, one, frankly, it is a fantastic movie. It is flat out incredible. I was not expecting much, and I was not excited to watch it, I would say. This is one of the things I love about us doing this podcast is it forces us to revisit movies that we might be like, okay, but they were highly regarded or whatever it is that were in the kind of the culture of the zeitgeist or whatever. But this was a rare one that I was definitely like, I guess I gotta watch this one, but I don't really want to. And it's flat out incredible.
Yeah.
It was knock me on my ass, emotional, riveting, but not like suspenseful.
Mm-mm.
It just was this slow burn of a movie.
And not melodramatic.
No.
You talk about emotion because you
Yes.
assume a movie like this is going to be melodramatic.
Yes.
Like Monsters Ball or whatever.
And
But
you
you're
even
like,
asked me, you said, what do you know about this? And I said, my summary. And you were very kind to say, And I was wrong with my details. I thought the parents were much more like in cahoots, if you will, to plan the revenge for their son's murderer. And it was not that. And we'll talk about a little bit about that. But it was such a great thing of, I thought it was one thing and it was not. And it was just incredible. So I have other thoughts, but that high level right away, you're the only person I know that's seen this as well. And people that might listen to it, it's so good. It's so
it's just a flat out good movie. It's well written,
Yes.
it's well acted, it's well told, it's well paced, everything about it.
Yes.
I think this movie is indie in the best sense of the word. It's an independent film, both budget wise, but it's independent in a, like, I don't think a big studio does not greenlight a lot of movies about dead kids or parents dealing with this, because they're just dramas. And so it has to come through I don't even know if it was Miramax, I think.
Probably Miramax, I think it was.
And I just, it's in the best sense of the word. It's not too over the top artsy or visually like too much. Some independent films do that where they try and like make the visuals about it and it distracts from the story. But then it's not weird as a lot of independent artsy films can be. And it's not, so it goes right in, and all it's like, it just tells you a good story.
Yes.
It just, here it is. This is the story, beginning to end. It's also not indie in the sense of there's a satisfactory ending. Like there's a clear ending. A lot of indie films are open-ended.
Yeah.
And, make the audience think. It's like, no, the story of this makes me think.
Yes.
Which I will get to again later. So that, I love it. It's one of my favorite independent films of just really well done.
And I love movies like this where you're thinking about it days after. Random thoughts would come to mind as I'm walking the dog or just anything like that, and thinking, oh yeah, that was really great. Like, oh my gosh. As opposed to some of these just, you enjoy them and they kind of like, flash in the pan.
Sure.
But one thing I wanted to talk about was I firmly believe there are experiences, especially with our love of movies over the decades, that would not have the same impact depending on when you see it. Type of thing. I think maybe offhandedly, I did not like Blade Runner when I first saw it.
Yeah,
I thought it was stupid.
We've mentioned it before.
Exactly.
Yep.
But now I've come around to appreciate it because of just whatever it is. This movie is a perfect example of this, where had I seen this at 21, I certainly would have been impressed with it as far as it's well made. But like the visceral reaction to it and just the experience of it, sitting here watching it now with kids myself and like the dynamics that come at play with, I've been with my wife for 13 years or 12 years. Yeah. And so it's that type of thing where this would not have been, I think, appreciated when I was 21.
Not in the same way. No.
I could have been like, it's almost like an academic experience. I would have appreciated it. But now, so this is a movie that I loved seeing now. So I'm really happy that I didn't see it 20 years ago. It was kind of an odd thing of this, it was a far better, I think, experience seeing it now, or not even like revisiting it 20 years later. Loved it.
Yeah, all three principals in this were nominated for Oscars, and rightfully so.
Yeah,
but I was struck. Wilkinson doesn't have an Oscar, but both Spacek and Marissa Tomei do. But I was struck by the acting in this more so than almost any film we've had so far. That Wilkinson and Spacek are actually underrated. Like they were nominated for Oscars and somehow they are underrated.
Yes.
And it's not like Denzel didn't deserve to win or Halle didn't deserve to win for Monsters Ball. That's not suggesting that.
No.
And I wouldn't even go out on a limb to say a hot take they should win over those two. But I feel like, again, for a movie that has 3 actors nominated, like it's very forgotten in how good they are in this movie.
Yes.
Marissa Tomei is really good in a lot of things she does, almost everything she does. But I was struck about halfway through. Spacek was like, at first I was like, is she acting or is she just sort of like, she was just going along for the ride. There was just nothing there. And but I realized it was the performance, right? I mean, she was like, especially after Frank dies, she was like dead to the world.
Yeah.
And like, not as a bad actress, dead to the world, but just and that's when it hit me. I was just sitting there going, holy cow, this is just, how do actors get to this place? I think we've asked before.
Yeah.
I assume none of them have lost people that way. And you go, how do you get to this place?
Yeah.
Where it's believable. They're all broken.
Yes.
And there's only the one scene that it's very a little melodramatic, but for the most part, it's all the performances are like underneath.
Yes.
And I think that's why some actors love playing crazy people, because you can kind of like get there.
They swing for the fences
right.
and stuff. Yes.
And they're really good performances like that. But these people who, like, how do you convey that without speaking? And Wilkinson and Spacek were so good in this.
Yeah, I thought about that piece too, where, I think when critics talk about actorly movies, where it's like, oh, the craft of their work and all these like really highfalutin esoteric crap, they're just like, ugh, you're playing pretend. Like, that's tone it down. But this is the rare example where I feel like it warrants that type of high praise of the glances and the nonverbals that go on between everybody, and it conveys so much more than dialogue ever could.
Yeah, and I noticed it with Wilkinson and the kids, because you can tell that he wants to be a grandfather.
Absolutely.
And you can tell with the kids, and that's all unspoken for the most part, and it's looks.
Yeah,
and
he
it's
takes
that kind
them
of stuff.
out when he's doing the lobster stuff. Exactly.
Yep,
it's
all unspoken.
heartbreaking.
Yep.
Because you can see him thinking, this might be a possibility in
yeah.
my future with Frank. And then with SpaceX's conversation with her friend at their cabin about how many grandkids that her friend has, and seeing SpaceX's face.
Yeah, she's got like 9 grandkids.
Yeah. And like just that dialogue of that won't ever happen. I mean, it's heartbreaking, and what they're able to accomplish and not have it be histrionic and over the top, where I feel like so much of actor awards are, again, swinging for the fences. This was so subdued and so authentic. So when Roger Ebert talked about the authenticity, sometimes this was one of the movies that stood out to me of showing, like human dialogue, the authenticity. And I wonder if it also ties into kind of that lack of score that was in the movie. I love Thomas Newman.
I know, it's so funny because you love Newman.
And I said that's
and
what
score is in it, you're kind of like, that's good.
Tiny bit.
Yeah.
But what they do with that is really well done, kind of moves things, but it is really just atmospheric, where they're like the surrounding noises adds to that kind of experience where it feels authentic. It doesn't feel manipulative, where we're going to add some score in to kind of show you how you should be feeling here. So yeah, I totally agree. It was really, really impressive what they were able to do. So yeah, well, that's mine off of yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love I do love movies that raise the questions of life, of saying, and this one I think raises the ultimate question, which is, could you murder a murderer? Like, could you take a life if that person took a life? And I think everyone says, especially parents, the knee-jerk reaction is, yep, mess with my kid, I'm taking you down.
Yep.
And everyone says it, and rightfully so. I think we all feel it initially. And I think what this film does so well is it brings you to a place where that actually becomes a real question.
Yes.
Because the initial question is always like, I want to take that person's life. But then you go, no, we have a legal system in this country for a reason. You know, we'll let that play out. But then what happens if that legal system starts to fail you?
Yes.
And it kind of walks you down this path where suddenly when they do make the decision that they make, you go, I can kind of get there.
Yes.
And it makes total sense. They connect the dots perfectly along the way. But that question is a very, I don't know if the word is existential or not, but it's a really deep question, and there's no answer for it. Because everyone says yes, but I've never been in that situation. God willing, I'll never be in that situation. So it really, I can't answer. It's like an unanswerable question until you go through it. And yet I just watched this family go through it, and I'm like, yeah, I can get there.
Well, side note, I read this great book long ago that was about, it's called Elephants on Acid, if you're ever interested. And it's about basically like experiments. That's right. Experiments that happen like prior to like ethics being involved, of like sleep deprivation and all these things. Or like, what would happen if you shot an elephant full of acid and like those things. And basically the outcome was fantastic is based upon the right variables, you can essentially make anybody do anything you want them to do.
Sure.
If you put them in an environment like this. And what I love about this movie is, to that premise, it plays it out where you put into the legal system that, we don't see him die.
No.
It's just an altercation.
Yep.
And then a gunshot. And then you see his body and you have the whole fight sequence from her perspective. And then she, at some point, has given her story of it, but then later it's seen through a different light by the defense attorney where, no, she didn't see him die. She just saw it so
right, and
maybe
neither did we.
Exactly. So there's reasonable doubt where clearly I think, he shot this dude, the son, but we don't know what was happening in the altercation. And then you add this reasonable doubt element, and then you see the lawyer kind of being not that effective.
Yeah, the
with
DA
it.
or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're confident we can get.
Yeah,
it'll be
confident.
5 15.
5 is but
we'll get 15.
And then you add in these things of, it's not talked about, but Matt, the dad, has something in the background where you see he's a veteran of some war.
Yeah, something. Yep.
And then you have the variables with at this cabin, and he's talking to his friend about how much acreage is in this place. So it's not like, we watched Ocean's 11 this year where it lays out the plan ahead of time of here's the problems, and we're going to have this, and we're going to overcome it, and it's a great heist movie. This was like the inverse of that, where clearly conversations have happened outside our purview.
Yeah.
But then as things go along, it totally makes sense where, when the guy comes out of his work and turns around and Matt is there with a gun and just says, get in the car. But there was I thought they had discussions. Like I told you beforehand, the mom and the dad schemed to kill this guy. No, it just is all these tiny things that lay the foundation for when it happens.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. And he gets in the car and he goes there, kills the guy.
Yeah.
And it's so well done.
Right. And to the point where I don't
question.
feel like I need to say spoiler alert. Also, it's been 20 years at this point.
Yeah. But even then, I think...
I just don't... Because you knew...
I knew what happened.
You knew that they killed him.
Yes, I knew the son died.
Right.
And they killed the killer.
Right. But how they get there is...
And that's all I
not
knew.
what you thought it was.
But I actually liked knowing ahead of time, because I probably would have been really upset.
Yeah,
had I felt
think
it was
even
some
the
kind of
trailers
bait and
made
switch.
it made you know. I think if I recall correctly,
they might.
It was just
but it's not a spoiler.
No,
it tells you what's happening, but it doesn't spoil. I actually love knowing. So then it has this crazy tension the first half of the movie, waiting for it to happen, and then the second half where it's them unraveling somewhat and processing their grief, and then they seek their revenge. That I loved. Knowing it made it even better. So yeah. Anyway, to that point, yes, everybody likes to think I know I could do this, but this movie really puts into play of what would it really take to do it, and it was just incredible. That was my again the good back and forth. Yeah, I played off yours.
I suddenly forgot what I was going to say because you were just talking about
your notes.
No, and my notes are scratched out from a couple weeks ago, but it wasn't on that. It was kind of playing off of what you were just talking about. But I can move on. I guess I have. Oh, I remember what it was. You were talking about how they didn't in the second half. They don't really go off the rails that much. But what I love in the movie is it's a straight up film on tripod the whole time or on a set, but then they do Steadicam once, and it's only in the fight scene between Matt and
the
mom. Basically, it's right here, Ruth.
Well, let me tell you something. You got it backwards. I know what you think, that I was too lenient, that I let him get away with
everything.
Yes. And why? Why did he never come to you?
He wouldn't listen to me, Matt.
No, he wouldn't listen to you. He wouldn't listen to you because you never listened to him.
No, but you did. You were winking at him the whole time. You encouraged him. You wanted what he had. Her.
Oh, my God, you gotta be kidding.
It's only then, and it's only for about 2 minutes.
Sure.
And then the candy girl comes, and you're just but that's the only time in an independent film, anytime you don't have Steadicam where it's shaking the whole time, it's actually a win. But I love that was such a good filmmaking thing off of what you were talking
choice.
about. That was
Exactly.
I have a bit of a hot shot, but I can wait for you if you got anything else on the.
Well, I think two other things I'll really say is I think this is a rare movie that shows like loss and grief without feeling depressing.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really well done.
You could watch it again.
Yeah, I totally could.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily want to, but there's other ones out there. I think actually when we talked last week, I was talking about Black Swan is a movie that I've always been impressed with. I loved seeing it, to have seen it, and I never want to see it because I have a white hot fury for how awful it is.
Sure, anything by Darren Aronofsky.
In terms of seeing a woman get psychologically torn apart. That's not a fun movie to watch.
Mm-hmm.
This is a well-made, engrossing, and devastating, but not depressing movie.
Right.
It has these moments like when we were watching it, these things that sneak up on you, like when the dad is pruning the tree and sees the tree house, the ladder that he built, and it flashes back to his son. And I'm like instantly sobbing on the couch. But it's this cathartic thing that is really well done, that moves on. And so it was great. But no, the last thing I'll say before Hot Shot is I want to acknowledge that sometimes it takes movies like this or experience like this to have someone else say, we're going to watch this together.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to watch it long ago. And I was like, yeah, this would be fine. I'm sure it's going to be great. I liken it to that movie Prisoners that we talked about long ago when we watched. And I was like, I don't want to watch a movie about Hugh Jackman trying to find his kidnapped 8-year-old daughter. I think my daughter was 2 at the time. Like, this is not what I want to watch. No interest. And you're like, I'm coming over tomorrow night. We're going to watch it. And I was like, fine. And watching it, edge of my seat. Oh my God, incredible. So well done. And to the point where the tension at the end, I'm like, if you had me watch a movie where this kid dies, I'm going to punch you in the throat. So it's these things where I know that I'm probably more hesitant, I don't know. So I want to call out, it takes some, so thank you for having us watch this because it's so good.
Good.
Yes.
Good. I can shut down the podcast. My goal has
exactly. Mission
I have on
accomplished.
tape that I'm right. I'm just going to take everything you just said as you were right.
That's the entire
Love it.
I'm right.
On
loop for 40 minutes.
Yeah, it would be a ringtone. Yeah,
Steve, you're right.
You're right. Oh,
sorry, hot shot.
No, I mean, I guess it is. It wasn't necessarily hot shot. I think in the terms of Oscars, sometimes the movies, and not necessarily that they prove anything.
Yeah.
But the one thing the Oscars do is they somewhat guarantee a movie is going to be remembered.
Yeah.
There's more of a legacy to Oscar-winning films than others.
Yeah.
Minus Pearl Harbor has won an Oscar. So I mean, let's bring it down just a smidge. But
maybe the top 5
and rightfully so, though, because Pearl Harbor should have won an Oscar for that movie, for the visual effects.
Yes.
So I do, with a movie like this, it bugs me a little bit because you're just it gets forgotten when there's not even
totally
one of the actors or anything like that. It's happened along the ways. And there's other ones that have been shut out, like Gangs of New York or Color Purple, that they will be remembered.
Yeah.
But I hope Gangs of New York is forgotten. But Color Purple can be remembered, but they'll be remembered more for that movie will be remembered, A, because it's Spielberg, B, it's a wonderful film, great book, it's a lasting piece of work. Whereas Gangs of New York is okay, fine. This one I wish people would remember. And an Oscar would help. Yes. My hot take-ish is I do think if this is released a decade later, it wins or is damn near close to Best Picture. And it certainly gets more play in a social media era of, now all the Oscar winners are discussed online and people, you see it more on Twitter and that kind of stuff. So it would have benefited from that.
Yeah.
It would have benefited from now they release all the Best Picture winners together at AMC, so you can release them on a weekend or go see them on a weekend. I just think it has a chance of winning depending on the year it's up against because you have, and I did write these ones down under my chicken scratch. You have Spotlight won, The Artist, Birdman. You have these art house films that only benefited from social media presence. The Artist, even The Artist. It was all over the place. And it really, you're not getting people to go see a black and white silent film. Not only getting them to go see it, it made money.
Yeah.
And you're going to win Best Picture.
Yes.
Which it's good. So I do think a movie like this is just on the cusp of being too soon.
Yeah.
Whereas had this come out about a decade later, like 2011, I think it has a chance of winning Best Picture.
Which is funny too, because I think it's based upon a story that came out in the 70s or something. So clearly they've been around.
It's a timeless story,
for
I guess,
some time.
in some ways.
But I think about, in addition to that, ahead of its time in some ways, but also this would be easily like cleaning house at the Emmys, similar to like a limited series, like a Big Little Lies or something where it's like a 7-episode
Hulu
arc.
made this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Or like HBO puts
and
their weight behind
it. In it.
It would, man. Like you have this stretched out where you can get more of her backstory, the mom, and then all these things, and you can see the grief. It's just, while it's I think an incredible movie for the 2 hours it is, if it was stretched out to, I guess, 6 hours because of whatever network it's on, this would be all the rage in the past 5 years. We'd be talking about it.
Head. Yeah,
right. You're like
Clive Owen. Clive Owen could be, You got some Nicole Kidman. Yeah, you just start to go down the path, but I agree.
She's too much of that. Yeah,
she's in everything.
And
all the
like
adaptations.
Her, yes.
Although she would do well. Good job.
She would. But I think I totally agree with you.
I hate her. So
I have moments of liking her, but yes, I agree. Anyway, yeah, that's a good take. I think it was ahead of its time in the sense of the story. And I do wish, after having seen it, that it did have a bit more cultural presence because it's so good.
So, you don't have a quiz show, right?
I have two of them.
You have two. So, I think we're going to ask them, and we'll see if we remember them.
I think it's good to know.
And if we do, we may just
recognize.
I may just loop in the original and just. So at this point, we're doing quiz show.
The exciting quiz program 21,
where we try and stump each other.
Yeah.
And so either you're going to hear our voices as they sound now, or you will hear much, much worse audio, and it'll be that. So I guess we'll find out. So what do you got, Tim? You can go ahead and go.
It's uncommon for a film to have 3 acting nominations in the same year. Yet in 2001, another film had 3 acting nominations. Can you name that film?
It was Iris.
It was
right?
Iris,
yeah.
yes.
And I didn't know it the first time.
You did not know
I
it,
remember
yes.
that. But no, now I'm thinking back like, oh, it was Iris because it was Broadbent who won.
Broadbent won for supporting actor.
Yep. And then it was Judi Dench.
Yep.
And Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet,
right? Yeah.
who would be great in this.
She'd be great
20 years later.
Yeah.
As the mom.
The mom, you think?
Well, that might still be a little bit young.
I think she's a little young for that.
Yeah.
She almost could play Marissa Tomei's character.
She actually might. Anyway, yes, Iris that year.
My really only quiz show part, there was a fun factoid really, but my only quiz show was William Maypother. Richard has a very famous cousin.
Oh, the estranged husband?
Yes.
Of Tomei? Oh, we talked about this, but I don't remember.
He's from Lost. Right? So he's
kind of a
oddly
weird-looking
enough,
dude.
This cousin also starred in a film alongside Todd Field, the director of this movie, who began his career as an actor.
Tom Cruise.
There you go.
That's right. Eyes Wide Shut. They were together.
That's right.
It's coming back.
They
nice.
are cousins.
Yes. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. You can kind of, when you see pictures of him, you're like, I can see a familial resemblance.
The brow, maybe. Yes.
So
my other one was, prior to 2001, the last time that a movie had nominations in the same 3 categories, so Best Actress, Actor, and Supporting Actress, was in 1997 with a Best Picture winning movie. Do you know that movie?
You asked that question?
I did. And you got it.
I did, because it was The English Patient.
English Patient,
yeah,
yes.
It's like...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Juliette Binoche
Juliette
won
Binoche
for
won.
supporting.
Yep.
Binoche. Ray Fiennes and then
Wraith.
Whatever the woman is from English Patient. 3 names. Kristen Scott Thomas.
Yep.
There we go. Yes. Yeah.
There we go.
It's pretty rare.
So who knows? Maybe this will be like what's the Seth Meyers skit with the lobby baby or whatever, where he's got the skip politics and he comes back.
Yeah, the skip. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just be
the
like,
Netflix segment.
Anyway, he's not that bad.
The murderer in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah, and somehow it fits.
He's in other stuff, but
Yeah.
wow.
Well,
I
yeah,
guess he got a
Ethan.
weird face. Yeah.
Ethan from Lost.
That's true.
I mean, that's what you know him from. Because if you don't know him from Lost, go
Dude, again.
yeah, I can bleep it. I'm the editor. I can do whatever I want.
So either we'll be coming back with some great sound now, and welcome back, or we just answer our own questions.
You're a trooper if you listen
That's
to it
right.
again. Yes.
So, any final thoughts on In the Bedroom?
No, I've said it before, but really, it truly is a movie that is, it's about grief and loss and devastation, but it's not depressing, and I'm so happy we watched it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
If you're listening and you can find it, rent it. It's a few bucks.
So good.
Hell, I have a DVD. I'll loan you. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
I'll give you my Vudu login. Yep.
Yeah, or you can just have the DVD because I'll never need
Actually,
it again. 'cause I
Paramount
now
Plus,
own it.
that's how I found it. You used to log in
There
for
you
the
go.
7 free day trial, or 7-day free trial, and then you cancel. So anyway,
there we go.
You can also watch the new Paw Patrol movie.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, we watched it with the kids.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Matt wanted to see it in theaters with you.
Oh, it's not that good.
Yeah, no, shocker.
It's not worth it.
20 years from now, we will not be discussing the Paw Patrol.
Why would I watch a show about
movie.
Adventure City when it's set in Adventure Bay? It's so stupid. I don't need to freaking Chase's origin story, man.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
You can cut that out.
Oh, no, I'm leaving it in.
For the parents that listen to it, it's not worth it.
It is, because you could just let your kids watch it and be on your phone for an hour.
That's true, actually.
Right. So in that sense, you know, there you go. So that brings us to the end of our happy hour on In the Bedroom. Join us for our next episode on the Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh, yes.
And our next happy hour will be on Vanilla Sky.
Open your eyes.
We want to say thanks for taking some time to listen and for clicking that like or subscribe button on your devices. Follow us on Twitter at years_beers and on Facebook, or head to 20years4beers.com. This has been 20 Years 4 Beers. My name is Steve.
I'm Tim.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks.
All right, now let's see if that worked.
Let's play some Cards Against Humanity. Honestly, we're at 7 minutes right now, and this is outstanding. This is pure gold.